Hello and welcome to part 2 of my rig upgrades video. In part 1 I basically decided what I wanted to do and cut myself a board to fit all my components onto. In part 2 we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of actually getting the thing built. First thing was to strip out my mixers, my OBS remote and my 2 old button boxes. You can see here the space that was left. Note that I've labelled all my cables so I don't have to work out what they are when it comes to plugging them back up. With this space cleared, I was able to mark where my mounting brackets needed to go. This wooden block you can see here is going to bolt to the top of my wheel stand. The next job was to make the top mounting bracket. This was going to be made out of 4mm ply and 2mm aluminium sheet. I marked out the centre line on the bracket and then drilled the bolt holes. Finally, I bent the bracket into shape using my favourite vice and hammer technique. Next up was marking out the drill holes for the top bracket and getting the top bracket bolted up. I then took the assembled board back to the rig for more test fitting. This photo is from the driver's eye line and shows at this stage the board was still a little bit too high on the right hand side. Eventually, after a few fittings, I was happy with the positioning of the board. You can see from the number of bullet holes around the top bracket that I had to reposition it a couple of times. Once I was happy with the position of the top bracket, I needed to take all the flex out of it, so I made this large, rather agricultural support, which luckily is never going to be seen in the finished project. Once I was happy with the brackets, I drilled some 12mm holes to allow the cables to be run through for the headphone mixer and gave the board a coat of black paint. I then covered any areas that were going to end up exposed with carbon fibre vinyl. I used offcuts for this as I have a load of offcuts kicking around, although using a single sheet would have undoubtedly given a better result. Now it was time to start fitting my components back to my board. I bolted my 2 button boxes into place and glued up my 2 mixers with shoe glue. This was left overnight to dry. While that was drying, I quickly made the housing for the LED lights. This was literally made out of scraps of ply and a couple of offcuts of aluminium sheet. This was covered in carbon fibre vinyl, fitted to the board, and once the button boxes were refitted we were ready for our final fitting. Here's the final board, ready to go and be fitted back to the rig. The console was then temporarily mounted to the rig. This second photograph shows the final arrangement. I'm going to switch back to video now for a final recap. Okay, this shot, as close as I can get it, represents a driver's eye view. And in terms of timeline, we're now at the end of the second video. The whole console has been temporarily mounted, if only for the fact that I needed the mixers back to make this video. So it's just held on at the moment with some wood screws into the bench behind at the top. And down here it's literally just resting on my wheel stand at the moment. Having said that, it's still pretty solid and it's not going anywhere, and it's going to be good enough to get these button boxes tested and set up, which is the next thing I need to do. So just to recap, we've got the main mixer, we've got the headphone mixer which are permanently mounted, the remote for OBS which is mounted on some velcro tape so I can take that off and move it elsewhere if I so wish. That switch there is going to be for the LED lighting, which isn't on it yet, as is this thing here, which is almost impossible to see in this light. Let's try to put my hand around the other way. The LED lighting for this box is going to be mounted under there. Hopefully it's going to shed light on these 2 boxes. These are the new 2 boxes, and these are going to be getting their own videos on how to set them up. So in the third video, what I'm going to need to be doing is doing the LED lighting for this console. I'm going to be improving the mounting to make it more solid, and I'm going to be tidying up the cables because, as you can see, I've not really done anything with the cables. This is because I'm going to have to take it all to bits again anyway to do the third video. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 3.